Can everybody hear me all right? It's not like it's a big room, just want to make sure. That is a DeLorean. That is from Comic-Con a few years back. They had like all the iconic cars from some person's collection. So I took the opportunity to try to do the, I don't know if I can make it bigger, the Doc Brown Marty pose from Back to the Future. So just being a nerd. So my slides are very minimal because a couple of reasons. One is that Create React App has a lot of documentation available already online. I don't really want to like sit there and like repeat all that. It's way better to just show it, to demo it hands-on. So that's mainly what we're going to do. But I will pull up the slides I do have, and let me make this full screen. Hopefully it doesn't break anything. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Is there a way to make it even more full screen? I don't know if I can hide these tabs.
We're okay. I mean, for what we see.
All right. So this is good enough. Okay. So my name is Marcus Brown. I am a developer. I say that because I like to tinker with a lot of different technologies. My background originally is in game development. That's my day job. Last year I quit to do front-end web development, and I started out with React. So basically I got on Udemy and blew through a couple React courses, got myself up to speed, got myself a gig doing some freelance work, and kept going from there. Was able to go out with some of you fine folks at React Rally in Utah last fall, and yeah, I've been loving it ever since. I'm more of a React person. I tried Angular, and the problem I had with it was too opinionated and top heavy. I like to build from the bottom up with as minimal pieces as possible. So, and let's see if there's anything else really relevant. I like to tinker with a lot of different technologies. I'm in the IoT, so I like to do a lot of playing around with Raspberry Pi, Intel Edison, Arduino, stuff like that, home automation, those fun things. Also like, I'm heavy into blockchain. If anybody here is into it, not just like buying and selling Bitcoin, but actually the underlying technology. So I do a lot of work with that as well in my spare time and on consulting gigs as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else? Just come meet me. So today I'm going to talk about Create React App. What is Create React App? Create React App is a, I guess you could call it a boilerplate generator that's made by Facebook, the authors of React, but that allows you to create your React applications with little to no configuration. So when you use it and you generate a project with it, your project is pretty much all set to go for both development and production with just a few simple commands. So if you spend any time in this ecosystem, you've probably played around with various different boilerplates that you can find on GitHub or various other sites. And, you know, those are great, but a lot of times they can either have too many extra pieces that you don't need or care about, or not enough. So Create React App tries to, let's just call it CRA. I'm not going to keep saying that over and over again. They tried to solve that problem by giving you a zero drop-in config tool so that you can just immediately start writing code without worrying about how your Webpack is set up, how your build is optimized, whether or not you have like hot reload set up, all those sorts of things. It's all bundled. So you see very little of the underlying machinery that makes your application go, unless you opt in and you want to. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So yeah, it supports what's called hot reload. So as you write code in your favorite editor and you hit save, it'll automatically recreate your bundle and in your web browser refresh what you're looking at to show you your updated changes. And yeah, Create CRA also has support for building production ready bundles, so that you can basically take your build directory, your build folder, and deploy it directly to wherever you want to host your application, and you're good to go. And we'll do a little demo of that in a moment here. So why would you use Create React App CRA over, creating a brand new project with NPM in it and importing all your dependencies and everything like that? Well, as soon as you generate your project, you can start writing code immediately. There's nothing else that you have to set up or configure. As you develop, you can see your code changes instantly and debug them as well. And it has really great support. It's like I said, it's created by Facebook. It's maintained by Facebook. It's the reason why it was created in the first place is people were tired of finding a deluge of boilerplates and how to get started with React tutorials, that never really met in the middle. So they created this tool so that you could just hit it and go. All right, see how fast that was? So now we're gonna actually just build a project in CRA just to show you how easy it is and demonstrate its capabilities. So gotta handle the Danny terminal. There's a very high chance it can get bigger. So, thank you, keyboard guy, for that. Wait, what's the keystroke again? My bad. Oh, Command plus. Gotcha. Oh, look at that. Is that good? All right. All right. So we're gonna go into our project directory. And first thing you do, obviously, is you have to have CRA in order to use it. So we'll just install it. I haven't installed, but npm works the same. So we'll do an npm install. It's a command line utility, so you install it globally. Wow, that was quick. All right, so now we're going to create our first application with it. This is as simple as it gets. What should we call our project? Let's just call it meetup. So while this is doing its thing from NPM, a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. The core of CRA is a package that's embedded in it called React-Scripts, React Scripts. React Scripts has all of the development dependencies that you would normally find at the top level of a React project. So Babel, ESLint, Webpack, your testing framework. So because this is Facebook's product, they use a test framework called Jest as opposed to like Mocha and Enzyme. You can use Enzyme if you want. You can use Mocha if you want. But again, the emphasis with CRA is on not spending time and worrying about how things are configured. And Jest works like any other test runner. We can take a look at one of the files. But once your project is generated, it gives you a little bit of text telling you basically what the workflow is, and which is what we're going to go over. So now that we have our project, let's just take a look and see what's in here. We have a typical project structure. Actually, we're gonna pull this up in our text editor here. I don't even know what this is going to. Okay, it's going to open here. We'll just put this in the, and we will command plus this bad boy too. All right. So it gives you a README, which is it's the README that comes with React scripts, which tells you every single. This is why I didn't have all this in my slides, because when you create the project, you get all the documentation that you would ever need about how to build your application in CRA. If I use Visual Studio Code's Markdown Preview tool, there we go, nice and formatted there. Although it doesn't like this zoom level. It's like I found a bug. All right, let's try it from here. Nope. Slipping Microsoft. All right. Well, but we're not going to go over that documentation anyway, so it's not important. It's here if you need it. Here's the fun part. So in your packages, in your package.json, you have the name of the app that we created. They give you a simple semantic version. And there's our main development dependency, React-scripts. We have a couple scripts that we can use to manage our project. And then, of course, we need React and React DOM in order to do anything with React. So if we take a look at our node modules folder, go down to React scripts. And take a look at what's package.json looks like. If you ignore all of the stuff that happens when you package up an NPM project, here's the real dependencies. And these are kind of, hidden away from you, which this is like one of the cons about React CRA is that sometimes you'll want to pull in, for example, your own ESLint style configuration or something else that's kind of already taken over, extra Babel plugins or something like that. They've done a lot of work to make it easier to pull in your own config and still use the stuff, but because this is in a dependency of your project, sometimes it'll get confused at the top level of your project, not being able to find certain things. But yeah, here's where all the dependencies lie that we'll be using during development. So we have our project set up, and let's see how they structured our project. We have our index.js. Here's your typical React application. It renders your app component. So let's take a look at that. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now you'll notice here that we're importing images and CSS directly into our JSX. Now, if you haven't seen this before, this is kind of like a recent trend of using a Webpack loader to transform these at build time. So let's take a look at app CSS real quick. Here's our styles for our app component. What happens is that at build time, Webpack will see that CSS and see it as a dependency and apply these styles and auto prefix those styles for whatever browsers that you need and generate that for you in your bundle, which is actually pretty cool because all you got to do is add your styling and import it and you're good to go. If we look at the test.js, this is again, this is using Jest, but again, it looks like any standard test runner. You describe your test case and then you give it a test to run. So that's it. That's all you get with the basic standard generated project. So when you get started working on this, so we'll go ahead and we'll launch it. It'll use this browser here. So what we'll do is we'll run npm start, and this will run that start script in our package.json. Look at that. I already had something running here. Sure, use another port. Whoa. That is not what I wanted. I heard that. He who is without sin. Come on, I can't be the only one with all these tabs. I'm a developer. I need them. They have all my documentation. Give me a break. All right. So here's our app. Let me just make sure it's in the right spot so we can get over to it easily. So here's our app, and we'll get even fancier and crazier with this. So we'll bring up Chrome Inspector, and I already have, I'm so fancy, I have the React browser plugin, so we can see the structure of our app, which is the same as what we see here. This isn't using Redux. No way. Okay, yeah, they don't include Redux. You have to install it yourself. Anyway, so here's our app. So let's say we want to change something. Welcome to React. Welcome to Phoenix ReactJS. Let's change that. It's safe. See, it says compiled successfully, relaunched. There's a change right there. To make that even more illustrative, let's just put those both on the same. Yeah, let's get all side by side. Get rid of this. We don't need this right now. All right. Yeah, so this is as contrived as you can get, but here you go. So this is really, really useful because it auto reloads your components as you write them. So, and this includes styles as well. So let's just demo that right quick. Let's go into our CSS. And 20 seconds. All right. I won't make that 2 seconds. That work. Yeah, there we go. So this is extremely useful for rapid development and prototyping. So that's the npm start command that you use to launch a hot reload server that you can do interactive development with. So if we want to run our tests, we just do an npm test. And what's cool about this is that it will watch the tests as you're developing, just like our hot reload. So what we could do is, I don't know, we could break something where it wouldn't render. And you see immediately, we see, okay, there's our error there. It's also very useful. So, I mean, ideally, you probably have that running on a different terminal while you're, while you're doing your side-by-side or multiple monitor setup. And then third command is, here, let's split this back up so we can see more of our screen here. Get this back in play. Now, when you're ready to try out, production, you can just do npm run build. That's the third command that React script ships with. Now, these instructions down here basically are really simple instructions to allow you to run a simple static web server to push the files that are put in your build folder. But let's examine what's in our build folder before we do anything else. So here's our typical minified HTML file. This is our bundle. This is our entire React app in this bundle here. Yeah, this is it. So we could deploy this to any static serving web server, and our app will be ready to go. So one final command, which you're not supposed to ever want to use, but sometimes you have to. So although CRA gives you all of this built-in goodness, sometimes you need to go beyond what it's giving you. So say you're prototyping an application and you decide that you need to modify how Webpack is bundling your application, or you don't like Jest, so you want to switch to Mocha enzyme or anything like that. There's a command that it ships with called eject, which will take all of those dependencies that we looked at in our node modules and fold those up into your main project. And once that command completes, your project is now completely standalone. It has no more dependencies on CRA. So now you see that all of those dependencies that were in our node modules are directly in our package.json. This is a one-way operation. Like you can't come back from this. So you got to think carefully about whether or not you need to do that before you do it. Otherwise, you could end up losing work if you don't have things, version controlled or something like that. So that's mainly it. I mean, that's CRA in a nutshell. As a npm script, so I ran, npm run inject. npm was a little goofy. Some of the commands that you run, which I don't have any scripts anymore, but I'll just go over that. I guess I'll still have the main development scripts here. So start. I don't know about build. Somebody who's better with npm can let me know. Start and test. You don't have to put run in front of those with npm, but anything else that you specify as a script, you do have to put run in front of it. All right, so I figured this was all well and good, but it's already a really short presentation. I've only been up here for like 15 minutes or so. So I figured it'd be useful to go over some use cases. And there's at least one that we can just do right here to demonstrate how powerful CRA is. So what we'll do right now is say you want to create a blog, or you want to create a GitHub page for your project. Well, CRA makes it really easy to do that. It already gives you all of the pieces you need to scaffold and scaffold and build your application. The only thing that's missing for GitHub pages is deployment. So it has hooks for that, but it doesn't give you that out of the box. But it's really easy to add. So we'll just do another demo and we'll go over that right now. Go back over to, actually, was that? Okay, yeah, we'll get rid of that for now. So since I did an eject, I can't demonstrate, I can't demonstrate adding GitHub pages with the normal CRA flow. So I'm just going to kill this project and restart it or regenerate it. And while it's doing that, let's go over to GitHub. Let's look at our repositories. Do we have any questions so far?
Are there any must-have like command line flags?
There is one that I'm gonna. Yeah, there's one in particular, and I'm actually gonna get to that. Yeah, after this. No, it's fine. We'll get to it in a second. All right, we got our project again. So let's go in there and start it up. Why should I get Yarn? Why is it faster?
Cover that myself.
Okay. Maybe you should have went first. Is that after this?
Yes.
Okay. So I wasn't trying to be snarky, but like when new stuff comes out like that, I'm always just like, why should I even read the README if what I have already works? So I'm looking forward to that then. All right, so we're back in our project, but CRA does not make a Git repository for you. It does give you a Git ignore expectation that you will, but it doesn't. So let's go ahead and create a repository. And I have a little special magic that lets me create GitHub repositories from the command line. It's a little bit OT. What is it called? It's meetup. No, I don't even give it a name. Yeah, that's the title. So we'll go ahead and you know what? We'll give this a home page as well. We're gonna integrate GitHub pages. So we'll give it where it will live on GitHub. Fat fingered it. Oh, thank you. I need to actually commit this first. Okay, now I can push it. All right. So there's our new repo. Again, you get this really fat README file. This is like one of my few complaints about CRA. Like, it's great to be able to have a reference, but I don't know why it needs to be my README, but whatever. Okay, so we have our project, but we want to be able to push this to GitHub pages. When I created this, I gave it the URL where my GitHub pages will live. It's not there because we haven't created it yet. So in order to add GitHub pages support, we go in our package JSON, and we have to add a home page field, which is the same as where it will live. All right, we have that. And the other thing that we need to do is add a tool that will allow us to easily deploy to GitHub pages, which is called GH-pages. So we'll install that to our development dependencies. Okay. That should show up in here. Oh, there it is. And then we need to add a deployment script to make it easy to deploy to GitHub pages. So the first script we add is called pre-deploy. And this is automatically run when we run our deployment script. This will build the project for us. And I will add a deploy script. Okay. Now we have all that set. Let's see if we can actually deploy it. See, it's running npm run build. That's because I specified that in my pre-deploy script. Now it's running GH pages to create the GitHub pages branch. The GH pages branch says it's published. Takes GitHub a minute here, but let's make sure that our project is set up properly. Well, it automatically said that it's published and it's pointing to the GH pages branch. So let's go try that URL again. Boom, there we go. So now we have this on GitHub pages. If we wanted to put it at a specific domain, we can just go to this public folder. I guess I should have talked about this a little bit too. So in this public folder, this is copied into your build folder. Anything in here is copied during the bundling process. Your index.html, let's just take a quick look at it. It's very, very simple. Now you notice it's using this funky looking public URL like substitution variable in here. CRA provides this variable so that you can actually refer to resources that sit under public in your built bundle. So if I was to add like some images, or like, I don't know, if you wanted to use Pace or jQuery, if you're crazy like that, something like that, you can include that in public, and you could refer to it using this syntax. The cool thing about this is that you can actually use this, the way that CRA builds your application. I think this is part of the way it uses Webpack. You can use this as if it were an environment variable. So you can say process.env.public URL, and it will give you the absolute path to that public URL resource. So yeah, so now we have our app up on GitHub Pages. Obviously, we don't have any sort of live editing capabilities, but if we do want to go in and make some changes, we'll, since we're being really super lazy tonight because we had a long day at work, just gonna add this string back in. And we will redeploy. And it's GitHub. It will take a moment probably for it to update. Just verify that it actually pushed everything up. I don't know if I want to look at this file. I didn't want to look at that file. There we go. All right. What else can you do with CRA? Well, you can use the build desktop apps using Electron. I do not have a demo for that because it's a bit more involved than I would go over time. But this is just to give you an idea. There's some guides, and I can provide some links on the meetup site to those who are interested for a really, cut and dry 5 minutes process to electronify your app, your CRA app. You can also use it as a playground if you want to try out different things in React, or some support package that you can use with React. It's very useful for that as well. We're not there yet. So I did want to talk about that command line parameter that you asked me about. Let's see if there's just a general dash help. I think there is. Not 100%. There is. Verbose will just add verbose to any npm commands or anything like that it's doing behind the scenes. That's not that interesting. The one that is interesting is called scripts version. So by its nature, CRA is not meant to be something that you can customize. However, you can fork it. You can fork the Create React App repository from Facebook's GitHub and add your own custom code, assets, whatever you want to its templates, and use that instead of the default that's bundled with CRA. And I actually did that last night when I created my slides. So these slides are actually written in React using a package called Spectacle. Let's go to that right quick. Has anybody heard of Spectacle before? It's by Formidable Labs. No? All right, well, you're about to hear about it now. Let's go to the main site real quick. Spectacle is a really cool presentation library that lets you write your slides in JSX. And it has built-in support for all these transitions. You can do the whole animation thing where you have elements appear. You've already seen that in my slides. But not only that, you can build in a code playground in your slides itself, which is like really slick. But so what I did in order to, I want to be able to demonstrate that scripts version command line parameter. So what I did was I went and I forked create React app. If you're paying attention, you probably already saw this. So I created a fork, and I renamed it to Spectacle Create React App. And this is a vanilla port of the Facebook version, but I modified the React scripts component. Remember, React scripts is the core underlying build tool chain that powers CRA to add support for Spectacle. So basically what that means is instead of the typical boilerplate that we see here, I replace it with my own boilerplate that includes Spectacle. So let's take a quick look at that. And I'm not going to go really too much into that because I'm almost at time anyway, but I can also provide resources if you're interested in doing this. You will want to do something like this in case you're using something at a fundamental level that CRA doesn't provide. So if you're using like Stylus or SAS or something like that, that does not come with CRA, and it's not trivial to integrate with CRA, then you could, fork CRA and add that boilerplate. If you just want to add, like, say you're doing a bunch of different, I don't know, playgrounds, or you like to do your GitHub projects in a certain way, you can go in and fork it and modify those templates, and I'll show you where those are in a second. But you can modify those templates, and so when you generate your project, you'll have your boilerplate instead of the default. So let's go back up a step, and let's use it with that command line parameter. So one caveat, and this is not like a hurdle or anything like that, but this is something to be aware of. The package that you're going to use to replace the default, it has to be published to npm in order for you to use it, or it has to be packaged into a tarball. That's these instructions right here. To make it easier, I just chose to publish it, but I scoped it to my own name. So and then we need to actually come up with a project name. So we'll just call it slides. So instead of using the default built into CRA, it's actually pulling from my npm package, a published package, and it's going to use that boilerplate instead. So in that, we'll get ready to launch that project. So anything else in here? June. Just going to complain. Not only did I modify my boilerplate, I actually added Spectacle as a dependency of my template, and I'll show that really quickly in a second here. All right, so now we have our new project, and if we launch that, take a look. Oh, what's this? So here's the boilerplate that I added when I modified my fork. So if we go ahead and we run this, and let's npm start. back to the mini tabs, which is weird because I'm not focused on that. I don't get that, but whatever. What you want to do? There we go. All right, so here's the boilerplate that I created. And here we got some slides. This is actually adapted from the Spectacle boilerplate. So knowing that I'm going to go in and modify this for my own presentation, I decided to just use their boilerplate because it has a few reference JSX tags that I want to reuse. So that you'll find online several different, I'm trying to think of some examples here. I know Auth0, if you use that, they have their own CRA boilerplate that you can include in your project. That's actually how I figured out how to do this. And there's a few other ones out there as well. Let's see. So real quick, and then we'll just move to questions. What I ended up having to do was underneath my fork, I have packages and then React scripts. Remember, React scripts is the package that provides all the magic. So there is template. Template has all the files that it will create with your boilerplate once it generates your project. The only thing that's really of note here, besides here's where I made my modifications. There's a file in here called .template.dependencies.json. In this file, I'll specify Spectacle as a dependency. The reason why it's set up as a dictionary is because you can put a version in here to pin it to a specific version or to install that specific version. It doesn't pin it, I think it just installs it. What happens is when you run CRA and you specify your own scripts, it will look at this file if it exists, and after it creates the default files that are in that template and copies those over, it will then go and install any dependencies that you specify in this file. So the reason why that's of note is because if you remember way in the beginning, I said that all of the dependencies and dev dependencies of React scripts is underneath node modules. Well, that can cause issues because sometimes you can't resolve to those nested dependencies depending on what you're trying to do, especially when it comes to Webpack. That's a little bit advanced stuff, but just that's something to keep in mind. So if you put your dependencies here in this JSON file, what happens is it copies all your files over, and then as you see here, it installs your dependency top level. So you don't have to worry about whether or not it's nested and Webpack can see it. You know it's available at the highest level of your project. And that means that I can import default slide theme from Spectacle directly into my my JSX and just have it work without having to worry about anything else. Now, questions? Yeah.
The default React app,
Mm-hmm.
is it just kind of like a bare stripped down app, or is it router?
No Redux, no React router. Just the focus mainly is on the development and production build process. So
once you do create that, you just go in.
Right. Now that's a little bit of a lie. It does include Babel, so to give you ES6 syntax, the rest spread operator, and a few other bells and whistles like that. But those you could probably consider as dev dependencies anyway that you just use and not really think about. But no, it's not going to give you anything else that's front facing. Any other questions?
You mentioned there's an easy way to create React app to help you build an Electron app.
Yeah.
How does that work?
There's a boilerplate for it. So ReactJS. Well, here, let me go to the tabs that you guys are making fun of, because I actually have it in one of my tabs here.
But which tab?
The one I just clicked on because I know what I'm doing. Thank you very much. So there's this article that I found that I was going to incorporate, but I realized I wouldn't really have time to do it. So I can link this on the I'll link this on the meetup and on Slack. And basically, from reading this article, it looks like you have to add a starter module from a source file. It's like that bootstraps your Electron app, and you install Electron and then you add a couple of npm scripts, and then you're pretty much good to go. This guy specifically, and it says here, he didn't want to eject, so it has that in mind. So you know you can keep everything in place. Anything else? Yep.
You want to do something with Flow as you mentioned?
If you just install Flow, then you can just start using it as a dev dependency. Then you're good to go. Mm-hmm. And Flow is something that you really want make sure your IDE supports it anyway, wherever you have it installed. Oh, do they? I did a search for the GitHub pages instructions, and everything else is just, yeah, too much. Any other questions? All right, that's it.